Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, a lot of you had asked for me to exclusively fill out forms and kind of show how the form should be filled out and whatnot. So that's what today's video is. Now, I have an upper respiratory infection, so you're going to have to bear with me, guys. So today's form is going to be the 526EZ. So let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen right now and we're going to talk about it. Whew. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about substantially complete applications. Now, this applies to more than just the 526EZ, but on initial claim submissions, this is very, very important in identifying, in order to have a substantially complete claim means they'll process your claim. If you are missing some of these things on here, then your claim is not complete and it will not move forward. I'm going to have to keep pausing for coughing breaks, but so what makes a form substantially complete? An application form. So this can mean, let me define that real quick. 526EZ for like new claimed issues, claims for increase, supplemental claims, for appeals, higher level reviews. This obviously some of this information doesn't apply depending on what application you're dealing with, and also the was it the 8940 form for IU? Yeah. So let me just go over these real quick. So you need to have your name. You need to have, if you're not the applicant, then you need to have your relationship of who you are. Like if you're like filling it out for somebody that's not capable of doing it, you have to list who you are. Sufficient service information. Now, this is key, especially on original claims. Like this is the first time that you're claiming it. You have to tell us. You don't need to know the exact figure, but you need to tell us the ballpark of what branch you served in and what years you served in. So that way we can look you up. Because contrary to the to Doug Collins's statement that we know who you are, we just need a DD 214. No, that's not accurate. Like a lot of people are named Bob Smith. We need a little bit more information. We need to know when you served, and so that way we can discern who you are. Now, the benefit being sought must also be on there. So, what are you claiming? If you claim service connection for something like Terra, I'm claiming the PACT Act. That's not a disability. So it's not a medical condition and it's not a disability. So if you only claim the PACT Act on your claim application, then it's not a complete application. And then we go here to you have to sign it. The claimant's signature must be on the form. Now, if the POA, if your power of attorney, like your VSO, your American Legion representative that you have established as your representative signs it, that's cool, but you should also sign the claim. There is value added to both you and the POA signing the claim, but you have to sign the claim. At worst, it could be seen as an incomplete application. At best, they'll send you a 5103 notice for your rights and responsibilities to submit evidence on your own behalf, and that'll delay your claim 30 days. This is for pension and survivor stuff here, so not really based on what I'm talking about today. New and relevant evidence associated with supplemental claims, so that's factored in here. And then for higher level reviews, you have to actually identify the date of the decision letter to which you are disagreeing with, that all the rules and regulations were accurately applied to. If you don't do these things, your claim will not be sufficient or substantially complete. Now, I had talked about if the application is complete, the VSR who reviews does this process of reviewing for substantially complete claims. They'll review to see whether or not the 5103 notification has been sent, and if necessary, whether or not one is required to be sent. That's where I was talking about how if your POA, your VSO signs your forms for you, then the 5103 notification has not been satisfied, and we'll need to send that to you. There's also other instances for, like, let's say you file for individual unemployability and you didn't file a 526EZ with your claim, or you didn't file a supplemental claim with it if it had been previously denied before. What would happen is we'd still need to send you the 5103 notice. And why that matters is because it does delay your claim by 30 days minimum. So hold on just a second. So those are two important facts that need to be discussed when we're talking about submitting an application for benefits. So let's go to the 526EZ and let's try to get through this respiratory issue together. Okay. There's a lot above this. There's 8 pages above this talking about um, rights, rules, responsibilities. I'll let you guys read through that. I'm going to try to make this the quickest video I can. What matters for your application? The expiration date of the application. There is nothing more frustrating than submitting a claim and having the VSR send something to you saying the form that you submitted it on is outdated. So how you get around this is you go to va.gov to, like, if you're an application type person and not a filing it online, get the form from the va.gov site itself and it will be the most up-to-date version. Man, this thing's going to be spliced together. All right, so section 1. This is where you get to identify the type of program that you are attempting to file under. So I filled this out for the BDD claim video where you would check this for BDD. IDES is another form of pre-discharge claim. These two right here are pre-discharge claims. They would not apply to you unless you are part of this program and pre-discharge. Now, most people know to file either a fully developed claim or a standard claim. So, what do each of these mean? A fully developed claim will mean a bunch of stuff to a bunch of people. What does it mean to a rater? It means if if you select fully developed claim, that means all the evidence is there and I can grant 10 minutes after you submit it. I can deny 10 minutes after you submit it. I am not waiting for any additional evidence. So there is no minimum threshold that I have to give you before I deny the claim, if I'm going to deny it or grant it. But when you do a standard claim, you're telling the VA, hey, look, I'm not done submitting all my evidence. I got a few things to go through here. So please, you cannot make a rating decision on this for the first 30 days after I file it. Which, if it's like a presumptive condition, if you want it quick, fully developed claim. But if you're going to submit additional evidence with your claim, then please do the standard claim process. It's going to take at least 30 days to get your exams. So this requirement right here gets burned, like this 30 days that's typically the standard, gets burned through the normal process anyway. But what it prevents the rater from doing is it prevents them from the VSR. You submit the claim, they can't find any evidence. They submit it to the rater. 10 days later, you get a denial letter. That's what this prevents. It means that you can at least submit more evidence. Like if you see that it went to the rater too soon and you didn't get an exam, then something went wrong. So you don't want them to instantly deny it. You want 30 days to try to fix it. So standard claim process is underrated. Man. But that's basically just a kind of a quick and dirty way to talk about these two things. Fully developed claim doesn't work the way that people think it works. It doesn't give you an advantage. It doesn't fast track you in any way, shape, or form. It just means that I can deny the thing 10 minutes after you submit it. If that's the way the facts line up that you can't be granted, I don't have to wait to give you time to submit anything. So that's basically it. Now, the veterans identification section here, if you recall back, Claimant's name, relationship to claimant. There's certain things on here for the substantially complete claim. This is the section where we're going to need it. We need your name. Now, if you have like a maiden name on there, I typically go with the name that was true at the time of service, right? So you would just, fill this out, Raider HQ Esquire, senior, by the way. And you'll want to do the social security number. Now, I talked about this on the, I want to say the 2680 form or the 2680 form that I just did. So out of all of these, social security is the number that you want to go with. It's easier for us to track. Now, have you ever filed a claim with the VA? This is important. You might think this is stupid, but this is very important because there was a time period, or I should say, let me try to qualify this a little bit better. Not everybody's physical VA folders have been scanned and made digital. So, what does that mean? Sometimes your stuff is in a box somewhere, and we can't tell what you've been granted for historically. So by you telling us that you filed a claim with us beforehand, if we don't see that in VBMS in the program, we don't see that you have filed a claim with us before, then that's going to make us look to determine whether or not you filed a claim with us before. So this is important that you don't just gloss over this. Some people don't even answer this question, and a lot of them have had problems, a lot of problems because of it. Now, and that's about as far as I want to go on that. I might do a future video about physical claim folders and how those get scanned into effect, but maybe not today. I'm not feeling the best in the world. Date of birth. So this is pretty self-explanatory. BDD claim only. Telephone number. Now this should not be optional. You need a telephone number on here. I'm just going to tell you, if you are filing a claim and you want an examination, guess what they have to do? They have to contact you via telephone. If you do not provide a telephone number in your claim, you are going to delay your claim because they will need to get one. I do not understand why this is optional. This should not be optional because it is required to move the claim forward. So always put a telephone number that you can get into contact with just for the sake of getting your examination. Current mailing address. Now, I had recently done a video beforehand where I had talked about my fear about veterans being forced to do actual fraud for their private DBQ. This is the part that I was talking about where I do not suggest that you be the person that moves your current mailing address to within 100 miles of the provider that you had do your private DBQ. Do not do that. That is bad. Do not do that. I cannot say that enough. But this is the section where you would do that. And then you'd have, because this is where I would see it. I would see them change their address to be closer to the examiner so it wouldn't set off the fraud criteria. And then they would do this change of address thing to say that they would be moving back to their permanent address like 2 months after the claim was kind of should have been done, or they would do that. So don't do that. It's bad. It's not good. Now this right here, we're at the bottom of the first page. So this is where you can see like the date of the form and the the name of the form. So this is what tells you what form name it is, 21-526EZ. This is the date of the form. This matters mostly on the internal process. The expiration date above that I had showed you is the more veteran-facing criteria that you need to do. Now, you'll always want to submit your Social Security up at the top of each subsequent page. Now, Section 3 is for the homeless. Now, this is like, you can be, was it a priority claim. You can have it be a priority claim where if you're like terminally ill, homeless, something like that, they'll put you to the front of the line on most stuff. So answer these accurately. Um, uh, and it says you should only be completed if you are currently or at risk of homelessness. So you would just check the boxes. What does this do? Each RO has homeless coordinators that they kind of look over your claim and make sure it gets done appropriately because they understand that if you're homeless, there's going to be some barriers to try to get into communication with you to schedule exams and whatnot. So just keep that in mind. And once again, the point of contact telephone number is critical. Like if you are at risk or a homeless veteran are at risk of being homeless, you need to give them points of contact where they can get in touch with you so they can schedule stuff because there are human beings on the other side of your claim that want to help you, that genuinely want to get you, because the service connection could be the difference between remaining homeless, becoming homeless, or retaining your housed status. Exposure information. Now, I had talked about in the video regarding the American Legion, they want to make these easier to understand. Now, I don't disagree with that on this portion because even if this doesn't apply to you, to what you're claiming, you need to follow the instructions on here and complete these to the best of your ability. And hold on, I just want to click on this real quick to see what happens and see what they talk about here. Okay, I don't care. All right. So just follow this nautical miles, do your best. Explain as much as you humanly can in terms of what where you were located, who you were attached to. Now, if you come down here and you select this button right here for military occupational specialty MOS related toxin exposures, you need to type out what exposures and what job duties in this section. Now, let's say this is not enough room for you. Submit a supplement, like a 4138 form, VA form 21-4138, and actually, write out what it is, what job duties caused what contaminants. Some examples like I was exposed, I used to have to sand down, uh, hole scrapings on a ship or something like that. I used to sand things down. So I'd get all these air toxins and whatnot, like whatever. But you have to provide, you can't just leave these as I was exposed to asbestos. You need to tell us how you were exposed to everything that you're claiming here. Dates and times, job duties if they're required, when were you were exposed, but I need to know like the full context of what you're trying to tell me, okay? Pretend like you're talking to somebody that's never uh been in the military before, because a lot of the people that work for the VA never have been in the military before, and you've got to explain to them how you were exposed. What were you doing that caused you to be exposed? Generalize your terminology. Do not use acronyms. Help the layperson understand so that way they can help you get potentially granted for it. So this is an additional section, but as you can see, it's not very big. If you over type in this, so like let's say you just, you type this and you do 800 words, this box does not get any bigger. So if you come past here and you get below that, this is all you get. You get no more characters than this right here. So if you have more things to say, just submit a 4138 continuing the conversation. This is, continued from question 15D on my 526EZ. Section 5. Okay, guys, we're getting through this. So this, and I've talked about this in other videos about how to claim this, but this right here, their example pisses me off. It actually upsets me. This right here is not satisfactory because in order to satisfy element one, you have to have either to get an exam. Okay, so the VSR, when they read this, right, hearing loss is something that you can diagnose yourself because you're like saying, hey, look, my hearing, I can't hear as well as before. That satisfies element one. Even if you don't have it diagnosed, your credible lay statement reports that you have hearing loss. Diabetes is a medical diagnosis. So you would have to have in your records a diagnosis of diabetes mellitus. Uh, and this is a little bit more complicated because it's diabetes, but you'd have to have an A1C of 6.5 or greater two separate times, or 200 or more glucose values that were identified two separate times, one or the other, in order to satisfy element one for a current diagnosis for any condition. Okay. This right here, left knee, cool. I don't know what's going on with the left knee. You haven't given me a symptom and you haven't given me a diagnosis. Secondary to right knee, this would not get an exam. What would get an exam is left knee pain. Secondary to, well, actually, left knee pain. Secondary to right knee. This, I know that they have said, like, if due to exposure, example of exposure type, I separate this out. Left knee pain, because this is a symptom. You are a subject matter expert to identify symptoms that you have. A symptom of a current injury, illness, or disability. So you're saying left knee pain. By you saying left knee pain, you satisfy element one in order to get it an exam. Secondary to right knee is that's how you're claiming it. I know it says due to exposure, but it's easier to tell us the theory that you're trying to service connect it to separately. Because you might have a lot of current disability stuff and there's not a lot of characters over here. So I use this particular thing. It doesn't hurt anything to do this and explain how the disabilities are related to in-service exposure. You know, this right here, I don't care about. If you want to say something like, started, like, we're just trying to get an exam, and what I need is element one, element two, and element three. Because if you were claiming the secondary, element three doesn't necessarily matter because it happened, left knees, actually, hold on, let me say this. Started favoring left knee after right knee was injured, and now left knee always hurts. Always hurt. Sure. That's as many characters as I have. You can't really go into a deep dive analysis on this. So you have to pick your words carefully. And then whatever the dates began. For secondary, it doesn't matter. So secondary could be 2014. Doesn't matter. Now you could do right knee increase. I now have instability. 2025. Sure. Whatever the dates approximately it happened. So this helps chunk things up a little bit better so that way there's no miscommunication on what you're trying to claim. I know I'm telling you to fill this out differently than what they said to fill it out for, but the person that wrote this isn't there going to be rating your claim. Okay. We need to keep it as simple as possible. Look, it's during the government shutdown. Okay. Right now at this time, there's this thing called top sheeting where people don't read. They spend the least amount of time reading. They're not going to read this right here. They don't care. This is up to the doctor to determine. The VSR will not care. All the VSR cares about, did they satisfy element one? Did they satisfy element two? Oh, they did. It's secondary to the right knee and the right knee service connected. Great. Exam, check. Getting an exam for that. That's the way this works, guys. I know I'm kind of pulling the curtain back, and you guys probably don't want to hear any of this because it sucks. You think but that's what the VSR's job is to get you an exam if you deserve it, if the evidence supports it. So you need to make that as painfully clear as humanly possible. But this right here, this would not get you an exam because you didn't tell them you don't have any current symptoms of it. Okay. So we did the right knee increase. So right knee, fair. We don't need to say pain because you're already service connected for it. You're just requesting an increase. It gets an automatic exam. Now I did say like, hey, look, maybe the instability is new. So I now have instability. Well, that's new. Cool. That'll be determined by the examiner. And then we talk about something like direct service connection. So asthma with shortness of breath. Okay. Because asthma is something that a doctor can diagnose. You're not a doctor, but you can tell me that you have shortness of breath if it's true. Now, why am I saying to put the diagnosis and a symptom on there? Left knee, symptom. Right knee, it's increased, so it's different. The reason why I'm saying that is because sometimes the VSRs do not get your records. So if they do not get your records to show that you have a diagnosis of asthma, then they do not have element 1 satisfied. So the reason why my suggestion is always when you're filing a claim is to put the diagnosis that you may have and then put symptoms, because you can, at the very least, with shortness of breath, get an examination if you meet element 1, element 2, and element 3. So this is element 1 category. This is element 2 category for me. You're telling which theory that we're trying to connect it to. So this is going to be the direct theory. So, and then I explain that, and it's going to be like treated for asthma in service and since service, whatever's true for you. And if you got out of service in 2010, that's the date. And then if it's presumptive, right? Let's say it's sinusitis for sinusitis with sinus pressure. We're going to say 38 CFR 3.320. Let's say you were over in Iraq and since then you've had sinusitis. It's a presumptive under this condition. I'm trying to tell the VSR what theory I want to claim it for, so that way nobody's guessing. Do not assume that they have your best interests in heart, because maybe they don't. They might not be familiar with this. And then we want to say situs manifested after deployment/service. No, that's migraines. Yeah. Treated at BAMC. Sure. So you guys kind of get this 2023. So when you do this, and I'm just going to reiterate this, condition, symptom. We can even do it this. Condition, symptom, condition, symptom, condition, symptom. Theory that you are applying to. Best guess. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Or injury. If due to event or injury, just put in the theory here, please. It helps everyone out. Because if you just write it casually, they might miss it. So this makes it to where if you're doing like a higher level review, you can point to this and go, wait a minute, I explicitly claimed it secondary to the right knee. I explicitly did it. So this is my advice on filling this section out. Now we come down here to the all the treatment centers that, all the evidence that you want to include in your claim. Now, this is for everything. So this, and please keep in mind, if you say like VA Medical Center so and you give the dates, that's within the VA's power to pull, get, or gather these federal records for you. But if you say like Dr. McCool and he's not a VA doctor, then you will want to, and I'll just write it right here. You'll want to submit a VA form 21-4142 and a separate and a separate 4142A form with your claim submission. If you do not do this, then what'll happen is it'll delay your claim by a minimum of 30 days because we'll have to send you these forms. This first form here is for a release of information giving the VA permission to gather all the records from whatever doctors or organizations you provide on the actual, like this is the permission form. I give you permission to get Dr. McCool's information right here. And then just do the date ranges. But that's how you, like, if you need certain evidence to prove your case, you need to make sure that you're either telling the VA to directly get it or helping the VA to get it for you, in addition to submitting it yourself. Just because some raters can be jerk faces and say, I think that you didn't give me all your records. You gave me 10 pages out of your records, and I don't trust that that's the full story. Some people are just jerks. So I just say give them all to them and just do it that way. Once again, veteran social security number up here. This is your service information. If you recall, your service information needs to be part of your application for it to be a substantially complete application. You need to fill this out. Okay. This is not hard. In terms of like making sure that you complete this. Some people don't, and it delays their claim drastically. That's why I say you should want to do this. Do your best. If you don't remember the exact dates, that's fine. Give us a ballpark. We can work with that. So yeah, you'll just fill all this out, anticipated separation date. Some of this is for the BDD stuff. And then we've got retirement pay down here. If this doesn't apply to you, you can leave this section blank. If it does apply to you, please fill it out because it helps to make sure you don't get overpaid by us. I mean, obviously there's going to be, a set of, if you have retirement pay, it's going to be in there. It's going to be in the system. So it's not like they can miss it, but it just helps out with everything. And then we come down here to severance pay. This is where you have to be honest with this. If you were severed, if you had severance pay, you have to pay that back oftentimes with the first claim that you submit. It starts kind of a payment plan. Direct deposit. Now, depending on the form that you're filling out, the direct deposit information up here might not say the exact same thing. But if you want direct deposit, you've got to fill this out. You've got to give a voided check most of the time. Some of the instructions tell you that a voided check is not required, but I would still potentially do one with my claim submission. And then just fill out the account number and routing number and submit it with your claim. And then this comes down here. We're almost done, guys. I know I actually thought the video would be 10 minutes long, but veteran or service member certification and signature. So this is where you certify that all the information or evidence, yada, 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 that you're telling us everything's true. You sign in 33A. You should always sign in 33A and date it. I don't care if a VSO filled it out for you. I don't care if an attorney filled it out for you. You should always sign this. And it comes back to this thing right here that if you don't sign it, we'll send you a 5103 notification because we have to. And on the original claims, you have to sign it anyway. If this is your first time claiming something, you're the only human being that can sign this form. Now, on subsequent claims, you can have your VSO sign the form, but we will be obligated 1000% of the time to send you a 5103 notice, which delays your claim for 30 days to get the answer, to give you time to submit evidence. Now, the witness section doesn't need to be filled out. It's not anything that crazy. This is where we come to the alternate signer section where your VSO can sign your power of attorney, alternative signature. Well, this is alternative signature. Let's say that you have you're cognitively not deemed incompetent, that you need an alternative signer, then they would sign here. But this is the part for the power of attorney, POA, and it says POAs cannot sign an original claim form. Other than that, they can sign, but it will delay their claim by 30 days. So I don't understand why people will do that. They'll have their VSO sign for them, and then after that, it'll be delayed for 30 days. And they're like, why isn't it moving forward? Well, because you didn't sign it. And then we give you, like, for those of you that really want to test the patience of the VSC, and my dog is over here snoring, but if you really want to test the patience of the VSC and you want to do over 25 claimed conditions and roll that dice, here's some extra spots for you to basically delay your claim further. I like claims that are 6 conditions or less. That's ideal. The VSRs and raters get more bang for their buck due to 6 contentions or less. They get the most points. What you'll find sometimes is you'll find that if you have like a 40 contention claim, that's going to take you all day, and it's going to be mentally exhausting as a rater sometimes, depending on what the context is. Like BDDs are much easier to do, so I love doing like huge BDD claims. But for like a normal claim where I have to do research on every single condition and I've got to account for it, I mean, it becomes mentally exhausting. And the larger the number of conditions that you've claimed, the more opportunities there are for errors in the processing, just because the rater can get mentally fatigued. Things can get lost if they don't have a very good process for larger claims. So this section is for your overflow if you want to just submit even more, but not something that I suggest. I like smaller claims. It's just me. I'm not saying that you have to do a smaller claim, but it is more advised to do a smaller claim. Just my personal opinion. You can take that in 2 cents and have 2 cents, but I've seen a lot of the times where larger claims statistically seem to have more errors within them, and they're kind of dummy errors where it's like, oh man, I forgot to do the most basic thing, or I missed this one condition because I wasn't paying attention. So that's about all I got for you on this one, guys. I'd like to thank you for hanging in there with me. There's going to be 1,000 cuts in this, so I do apologize for that. I did want to just come up here real quick and just talk to you about the nonsense of all this stuff. So this is the how to submit your claim if you need to. FDC versus standardized claim process. I wonder if it'll tell it to you here. Will it say whether or not you get the 30 days? It doesn't. It's on the old forms, but it's something where we can't. Yeah, you'll have to take my word on that. But those are the differences between those two things. Special circumstances, how you file. Like, this is some good information up here. Like if you're claiming dependents, things like that, IU, that you need additional forms and whatnot. So yeah, some of this is pretty good stuff here just to help you, I don't know. But anyway, that's about all I got for you today. All the 2 manual references that I kind of cited, they'll be in the video's description. And then, yeah, that's me and my snoring dogs. We'll wish you a good whatever today is, Friday. I think today's Friday. I'm a little, the meds are making me woozy. So Anyway, that's about all I got for you today. Raider out.